Welcome back, everybody, to Niners Now, and thank you to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. I'm your host, Brady Grustas, at GrustasBrady on X. You can follow me there. And today, it is time for a free agency preview. We'll do a couple of these as free agency gets closer and closer, but I figured why not take a little look at the best players that the 49ers could go out and get this March. We're going to talk about it today. And of course, stick around until later in the show because there's some big Hall of Fame news that I want to chat about. Before we begin, go ahead and subscribe down below. We are so close to 700 subscribers, so please subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. Once again, huge shout out to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring the video, and let's get into it. First up, I want to talk about wide receiver, right? We've talked about that extensively on this show before, and I guess I should let you know, I've just got some offensive positions that I think the 49ers could go after. I'll do another video tomorrow with some defensive targets who I think the 49ers should absolutely be interested in, but today's all about the offense, and starting with wide receivers, there's a very clear top two available. George Pickens from the Dallas Cowboys and Alec Pierce from the Indianapolis Colts. Pickens, I think, almost certainly doesn't hit the open markets, whether it's a franchise tag or an extension with Dallas. He had a ridiculous season this past year and would likely be too expensive for the 49ers anyways. He's going to be making likely over $30 million a year, no matter whether it's on the franchise tag or on a long-term extension. Pierce, though, assuming that Pickens is retained by the Cowboys in some way, Pierce moves into that top slot of best wide receiver available. And he's going to have a lot of interest after his breakout season. Went over 1,000 yards. He's 6'4". He's got the size. He's got ridiculous speed. He's a field stretcher. He's got nice hands. He's really the full package at wide receiver. And he could bring a lot to the 49ers. He's not going to get $30 million a year like Pickens is, but he could certainly get pretty close, especially with a bunch of teams bidding against each other. So if the 49ers are able to land either of these two guys, you'd get either a pure alpha X wide receiver in George Pickens, just kind of exactly what the 49ers need, or you get a guy in Pierce who's big, strong, he's a field stretcher, he brings consistency and explosiveness and speed, all these things that really benefit an offense. But I like these other two candidates as well. I think these guys are certainly cheaper than Pickens and Pierce and probably a little more realistic. First one is Romeo Doubs from the Packers. He's a savvy route runner. He's, scheme familiar, played under Matt LaFleur for quite some time. Pretty good receiver, pretty underrated, I would say. The crowded Packers wide receiver room didn't really let him shine the way that I think he can. He's going to cost less than Pierce, probably closer to $15 million a year range. Really, my only issue with Romeo Doubs is the drop issues. He's had stretches of some high drop games, and that's certainly not what you want to see from your number one wide receiver. But at minimum, it seems like Romeo Doubs will be a guy who can step in and contribute for this offense on day one. And now, kind of a cheaper candidate here, kind of a budget version of Romeo Doubs. I've got Christian Kirk. He's a little bit older. I think he's almost 30, if not over 30 at this point. Really nice veteran wide receiver, though. He's really fast. He's got good hands. He's a nice route runner. And he'll be cheap. He's kind of a smaller guy, bit of an injury history. So he could cost, under $6 million per season. And that would make for a really great complementary piece for this 49ers offense. He's not a true number one in really any capacity whatsoever, but the Niners need bodies at wide receiver. And Christian Kirk is a body who will play, will know where to line up, and will also add some speed. So those are the wide receivers that I've got my eye on. George Pickens, Alec Pierce, Romeo Doubs, and Christian Kirk. We've kind of got the three tiers there, like Pickens and Pierce as the most expensive, Doubs in the middle, and then Christian Kirk as kind of a cheap option. Which do you prefer? Let me know down below in the comments what you think of these guys. As we now move on to the offensive line. This is a conversation that 49ers staff need to be having in free agency, is improving the offensive line. Now, do I think they'll spend millions and millions and millions of dollars? Probably not, but I do think they should make some additions, considering they're probably losing starting left guard Spencer Burford. They might lose backup left guard Ben Barch. They might lose backup center Matt Hennessy, right? These are guys who played for the 49ers this season, and they need to be replaced in some way. My personal favorite target for the 49ers across any position is an offensive lineman, and it's center Tyler Linderbaum from the Baltimore Ravens. If you haven't heard about this guy, you certainly will soon, because he is going to reset the center market 100%. I guarantee it. Someone is going to make him the highest paid center in NFL history. I would guess that would be over $20 million per year. He's one of the best centers in the NFL, probably top 3. He's the total package. He's young, he's tough, he's smart, he's talented, he's athletic. The 49ers should do anything that they can to get Linderbaum into their building. He can be a real foundational core member of this team. I mean, we talk about building the nucleus, building the next nucleus. Linderbaum is absolutely a part of that, an absolute rock-solid center right in the middle of your offensive line. You could pay him and forget about it for 10 years, you know what I mean? He is that type of talent. If you're not going to spend for Tyler Linderbaum, though, I've got a couple of guards who should be a little less expensive. One of them is Elijah Vera Tucker from the New York Jets, who missed the entire 2025 season with a torn triceps. Very unfortunate for Mr. Vera Tucker. He should be back in time for next season. The injury happened prior to week 1, so he should be back already, if not back by September. He's a really talented run blocker, but his issue is he's only played 43 games in 5 years. Could absolutely be available on a discount for that reason. And he's also got some tackle flexibility in his time with the Jets. So injury prone, but very good when he's healthy. Sounds like a lot of other 49ers I know. And then last but not least, we're going real bargain bin here. How about Evan Neal from the New York Giants? Former top 10 pick, massive bust in New York. Neal can't play tackle, he can't play guard, but he's still only 25. He'll be extremely cheap, I guarantee that, because Neal has not put out, any sort of high quality tape in his NFL career. And he could be the ultimate reclamation project for Coach Forster, the offensive line coach here in San Francisco. Because, this guy was not a top 10 pick for no reason. He was fantastic at Alabama, with some people even saying he should have gone number 1 overall that year. That was 2022, when I think Trayvon Walker was a number 1 overall pick. And if Neal was the first overall pick, he would have been one of the worst first overall picks ever. But I do think that he's still got some talent left in there. And I wonder if a change of scenery is all he needs to really unlock that. Now, I want to talk about tight ends in just a bit, but first, we've got a quick word from our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Football's biggest game is right around the corner, and you can get in on all the action with Underdog. Not on Underdog yet? Then you're in luck, because new customers score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you make your first $5 fantasy entry. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just head to the app, make picks on if a player will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, rushing yards, receptions, and more. If you get them right, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Plus, there's new promos dropping daily in the app. So if you like making picks and winning money, then Underdog is the right place to be for the big game. This week on Underdog, I'm of course looking at the big game, and I'm going to select Kenneth Walker III for higher than 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns, and Drake May for lower than 33.5 rushing yards. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today and use promo code FOOTBALLFAN to score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you play your first $5 on fantasy. That's promo code FOOTBALLFAN. Underdog. Make picks, win money.
Must be 18 plus. 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska. 19 plus in Colorado for some games. 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/play and get terms DFSTML for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-878 or text from 467-369.
Now let's talk about tight ends. 49ers might be missing George Kittle for the first part of the season, but even if they're not, they are going to need to find a more capable backup for Kittle and or a future replacement for Kittle, right? Currently, Kittle is I believe he's the only tight end on the roster for the 49ers next season. Luke Farrell is as well, but Luke Farrell was not great. Not great last year. Hopefully, Luke Farrell's not on the roster for much longer. But I've got 3 tight end targets that I think the 49ers should take a look at in free agency. You know what? Let's bump it up to 4. I've got 4 tight ends I want to talk about. The most expensive will be the top tight end available. That's Kyle Pitts. He just had a career year despite some real quarterback messiness in Atlanta. Former top 5 pick. Of course, he was part of that 2021 class. Was picked right 1 pick after Trey Lance and 1 pick before Jamar Chase. So really interesting stretch there. The thing with Pitts, I think he's likely going to be franchise tagged by Atlanta, or maybe they extend him. But I think he'll probably stick in Atlanta. If he does leave, though, he has real matchup nightmare potential. And the 49ers, I'm sure, would be interested in his ability to stretch defenses in kind of unique ways. Could cost a pretty penny, though. That is for sure. Kind of a mid-expensiveness tight end, though, I will say is David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns. Njoku's getting older, but he's still an athletically gifted tight end with pretty reliable hands and plenty of experience. I wouldn't pay him much because he just got passed up by Harold Fannin in Cleveland, but Njoku is still clearly a step above most tight ends in the league, and you can do a lot worse as your starter, much less your number 2 guy. Certainly would be interested in Njoku to San Francisco. And then 2 deep sleepers here. I've got Mo Alley-Cox from the Colts and Charlie Kolar from the Baltimore Ravens. Mo Alley-Cox is a traditional blocking tight end with some athleticism. He's been in the league a long time at this point, plenty of experience with the Colts, pretty decent blocker, just a nice role player. And I think he'd be an upgrade over Luke Farrell pretty easily. Kolar, though, is really interesting. He's kind of the opposite of Mo Alley-Cox. Mo Alley-Cox is all floor, no ceiling, right? We know exactly what Mo Alley-Cox brings to an offense. Charlie Kolar is kind of this exciting prospect. I think he was like a 4th-round pick or a 5th-round pick. Was buried in the depth chart behind Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely in Baltimore. Never really got a ton of playing time, but he's a Brock Purdy's former college teammate at Iowa State, a former Cyclone, and I think he could be a breakout candidate because he's got the ability to block, but he also stretches the seams of the defense, which is something that, the 49ers could certainly use. Jake Tunges does a decent job of that, but, if you're going to be missing George Kittle, you cannot only rely on Jake Tunges to help out your offense. So I could totally see the 49ers being interested in Charlie Kolar, especially because I think the Ravens let him go. They just paid Mark Andrews this past season. They just extended him. And now Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar are both free agents. I don't think they bring both of those guys back, if they even bring either of them back. Ravens don't have unlimited money, and they've got a guy in Tyler Linderbaum that they need to pay as well. So I think Charlie Kolar could absolutely be available for the 49ers, and I would hope that he'd want to come back and play with his college quarterback. So those are some of the free agent targets that I've got for you. At wide receiver, George Pickens, Alec Pierce, Romeo Doubs, and Christian Kirk. On the offensive line, got Tyler Linderbaum, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Evan Neal. And then at tight end, Kyle Pitts, David Njoku, Charlie Kolar, and Mo Alley-Cox. Are there any names that I forgot about? Are there any defensive names that you would like to see? Leave a comment down below with your thoughts. And now we move on to one of the crazier stories I've seen regarding the Hall of Fame. Bill Belichick, who might be the best coach in NFL history, will officially not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He does not have the votes that are required to be part of the Hall of Fame class this year in his first year of eligibility. And that's crazy to me. It's crazy. Belichick's career certainly has some controversy, right? Including Spygate and including some, less than stellar years at the end of his Patriots tenure. But it just seems baffling to me that a 6-time Super Bowl champion is not a Hall of Famer on his first try. What do you mean you're going to make Bill Belichick wait a year? What more do you need to do as a coach? He's one of the best defensive minds in the history of the sport. He has an exceptional resume. He's won so much. I don't get why, even with Spygate, I don't understand how you don't let that guy into the Hall of Fame. There are people, including Hall of Fame voters, that are coming out in support of Bill Belichick, saying, hey, I voted for Belichick. This is crazy. I voted for Belichick to be in the Hall of Fame. I can't believe this has happened. But clearly, there's plenty of people who didn't want him in. I'm very curious to see if we ever find out who did not vote for Belichick to make the Hall of Fame. So that's all for this episode, folks. Which players do you think the Niners should go after this offseason? And do you think that Bill Belichick should be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Let me know down below in the comments. And of course, let me know if you enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment, leave a like, and let me know if there's any topics that you would like to see me cover. Thank you all for watching, and subscribe for 49ers videos 5 days a week. I'm Brady Grustas, at GrustasBrady on X. This has been Niners Now, and I'll see you tomorrow.